it was a really special experience. Thanks for letting me talk about that.
Yeah, no,
it feels kind of buried in
great.
my past now, but
well, there are a lot of things buried in your past.
Oh, LOL. That's funny. I know where this is going.
Are we going there? We don't have to. If you don't want to.
No, let's go there.
Okay. Hey guys, my name is Jeff McMahon, and I play the piano for people. I've played on some big records, played on some big stages, and I've played with some big stars. Big or small, they're all the same. Taking someone with a dream, playing their song, and trying to get them further up the ladder. So that's what we'll do here. Have a conversation, maybe shine a light, and play some music. And I'll be on piano. This is McMahon on keys. So, Caroline Kidd,
Hi.
you are guest number 1 for the podcast.
Yay.
It's first time.
Welcome to your first show.
It is. There's a lot of pressure on you here. So
No, it's good.
So I wanted to have you on first because you kind of played a part in me deciding to do this. When we first met, I had spoken at, I think it was some sort of songwriter event. Mm-hmm. I had been asked to speak on a panel, and you reached out to me after that panel. I don't even know if you remember this, about having coffee. Do you remember this?
I remember reaching out to you after the panel, but I don't remember the details.
Right.
It's been like at least 3 years.
Okay. Well, I saved it. I archived it. I locked it away in my heart. So thanks for holding me in your memory. No, so this is what you sent me. Hey, Jeff, really enjoyed what you had to say at the OMG panel this week, especially liked what you said about networking, not to network, but to find your tribe. If you ever take coffee with people still in the early growth stages of their music careers, I'd love to buy you a cup. Happy Friday, Caroline. Do you remember this?
Sounds like me.
Yeah.
Sounds like something I might say.
So, and I feel like over the last 3 years, we have been a part of the same tribe, at least in some ways.
Yeah.
So, do you remember that? Do you feel like it's true? Am I a part of your tribe now?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Yeah, of course. No, I was really glad that you took that invitation. I remember, watching this panel, and at that point I, was extremely early, didn't have very many songs written yet, was still kind of figuring out, Nashville and how to co-write and what it really meant to break into the scene. And so I went to this panel at BMI, and it was, watching, and I think there was 4 or 5 industry professionals talk about how to break in. And some people were very intense about the logistics of how to break in and do it right if you're touring, if you're meeting with people. And It was just like, I felt like those people were thinking 3 or 4 steps ahead of where I was. Whereas I, at that point, really felt like I could use a conversation with someone who just was comfortable in and around the industry. And I really got that from the tone of your answers. And so I was like, I bet if I reach out to this guy, he might actually respond. And so I was really glad you did, because that was the type of conversation that I really needed then. And I'm really happy to see how our friendship's grown over the past few years too. You don't really know what you're going to get when you send a random connecting text like that. But here we are.
Right. Right. Well, first of all, I remember what was being discussed at that panel. And maybe it was just me, having more mileage than some of the other folks did on the panel. But what I remember is when they were talking about networking, they were talking about trying to network with everybody, meet everybody, because everyone was a potential connection. Yeah. And that's what I remember of that exchange, which was, you're going to go through everybody, you're going to meet a lot of people, but you need to find the people that see things the way you see them, write from a place that you write from. That was 3 years ago. Do you think you have found some of those people? Is this project that you're coming out with the result of some of that?
Absolutely. I think there's also, it's interesting to hear you talk more about kind of that, because the memories are starting to kind of resurface, thinking about people saying you need to meet as many people as possible. And I love to network. I absolutely believe in that. But at the time, that advice was, it seemed overwhelming as someone who is still just kind of trying to find their way, like meet as many people as possible and meet as many people as possible and offer them what? You kind of have to have something to offer people. And so I think I've always, looked back on conversations like that or topics like that and thought, I want to be at the point as an artist where I can go into a room and want to meet as many people as possible without getting overwhelmed, because I know who I am and I know what my songs are and I know what I have to offer these people. And so I think, that was definitely a contributing thought as I sought to get to the place where I am now releasing this project, because this project is kind of my first prototype of who is Caroline Kidd and who do I want to tell people who I am when I start to really try to, get into Nashville and be absolutely everywhere.
Right. Well, and I want you to kind of talk us through how you got here, what led to this project. The way this kind of led into this podcast is you and I had lunch that day as a result of that text message. And when you posted on your Instagram after that, above average lunch break today, chatting the music hustle with someone who knows it well. Thank you very much. I don't know how true that is, but I try. I'm continually reminded that making it in anything isn't for the dreamers, it's for the doers. Big points for that one. I love being in a city that is full of people inspired by the grind and grateful for people willing to send the elevator back down. I have spoken of that hundreds of times because I never saw myself that way. I didn't really think of what I was doing as trying to kind of, pull people along with me. But that's the core of collaboration, which is what I've always done as a piano player, as a sideman, always working with other people. So I've kind of used that as a reminder of like, oh yeah, Caroline said this. Yeah, I need to do that. So
well, yeah,
that's what we're going to try to do.
So a lot of people are interested what it looks like from that seat. You've seen a lot over the years, and so you can't. One of my favorite quotes is, "If you can't see it, you can't be it."
Yeah,
and I think it's important to at least try to have opportunities to talk to people who know what it's like to walk the footsteps that you're trying to walk.
Right.
And you've had an extraordinary music career. So I'm not just hamming you up because I'm on your podcast. I really think that. I wouldn't have sent the text message in the first place if I didn't, or the DM or whatever.
Well, I've done some things. You've done some things. So help us understand. I mean, we kind of understand how you and I wound up at this table together, but you're from Iowa. You did a lot of things before you got to Nashville. Just give us kind of the short version of how did you get from Iowa to here to pursue this dream?
Yeah, I left Iowa freshman for college, and kind of random, but I went out to Oregon State.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go down the weird tangent of why I went to Oregon State, but I just fell in love with it. And so I went out there for a couple years, and then I took a detour, which I think I know you want to talk about, and we can talk about it later. But I lived in Oregon. I went to Oregon State for a couple years, and then I went up to Portland State and spent a couple years living in Portland and working and kind of figuring out what I wanted to do. But I mean, I found myself in my mid-20s looking back at my life so far, and I had been kind of a consistent performer, whether it was choirs or productions or, pageants at one point. And all of these opportunities had kind of dried up.
Right.
I was just really doing karaoke as like my outlet to perform. And I was a bit depressed by that. I remember just standing on stage looking out at Joe's cellar
And this is
in Northwest Portland,
okay,
and being like,
Oregon.
is this as far as it's going to go? Is this my last performing outlet? This doesn't feel right. Anyway, so I had a friend, I was doing karaoke again, different time. And I was doing, I sang Alicia Keys' Fallen, and then I went and sat back down with my friends, and the crowd loved it. And I'm feeling like the man, and my friend Andy, who had worked for Live Nation for a long time and had been around the music industry a lot, said, Caroline, have you ever thought about maybe really trying to do this? And I was like, dude, you're crazy. I don't know what that would even entail. Like, I'm not a child star. I don't have a background in this. I can't play an instrument. I've never written a song.
And by do this, you mean pursue a business,
Yes.
a career as an artist.
Yeah, do this in quotes.
Yeah, the artistry. Yeah.
Yeah. But of course that thought stuck with me. And so I kind of poked at him a little bit and was like, well, what do you know? And
Right.
he says, hey, I've seen a lot of concerts. I've seen a lot of acts over the years. And I know that if you really wanted it, you could probably try. And I said, well, what does that even look like? And he said, well, if you write 4 songs, you can get started. And I was like, 4 songs. I mean, it was like a 90s movie voiceover with the kid, like walking through the neighborhood. 4 songs at school, writing on his desk. 4 songs, just kind of
$2.
Right.
I want my $2.
Yeah, it just kind of haunted me. So,
Right.
But it took me a long time to get to those 4 songs. Anyway, skipping a few details, I
Okay.
left Portland.
Okay, so now you've got those 4 songs. You're thinking about those 4 songs. Now, are you playing an instrument yet?
No.
Okay.
No, I
Okay.
I wrote down some really embarrassing lyrics and I sent them to him, and he was kind of like, "Good job, Caroline." I was like, okay, that was probably not what I should do, but I'm glad I at least tried. So, anyway, I kind of didn't feel like I had any momentum in Oregon. There was a job that I was working at that I wasn't in love with. I was just kind of feeling like a natural transition point in my life. So I left Portland. I thought I would go to New York City because I love the city, as many do. But in the meantime, I visited a couple of my friends in Nashville and slept on their couch for a couple days.
Right.
And had a magical Nashville experience. And I just loved what I saw here. I saw people my age that were, getting married, buying houses. They had parking spots. They had friend groups. They were going to the coolest concerts. Some of them were, in the music industry or around it. And I was really charmed, and I thought, you know what, maybe I can do this. So I bought a guitar and I bought a 4-chord country songbook, and that was 7 years ago. And then I moved to Nashville.
And so you're in your 20s at that time.
I was 24, 25. About to turn 25.
See, that is one of my favorite things is grown-ups that will still learn new things. I was actually on another
I'm not
podcast.
grown up.
Well, but you know what I mean? I mean, as kids, as children, we can, I'm learning how to play piano. I learned Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Everybody's impressed. You can feel some kind of attaboy. When you're a grown up and you legitimately learn how to play Twinkle, Twinkle, Star, which you couldn't do before, you're not happy. Other people aren't impressed because they think you should be able to play Alicia Keys already.
Right.
And you forget the process. You forget, you said grind in your message, but there is a process to everything. I've talked about it before. Everything we do, we had to learn how to do at some point. If we were scared to learn how to play guitar, if we were scared to move, imagine if we were sitting somewhere and it was like, I guess I need to learn how to do this walking thing, but Dad's watching me with the phone and he's going to put it on YouTube if I try to walk, and I'll fall down and it'll be embarrassing. So I'm not going to learn how to walk. We would never learn anything. So right. I so love grown-ups that will buy an instrument and learn it as an adult. And you've done that.
Thanks.
You've done that. So
yeah,
that's
I'm still
awesome.
Struggling through guitar, but we've made strides.
That's okay.
We've made strides.
Well, I do want to get into some of the other stuff, but I want to talk about the project first.
Sure.
And I think that I'm surprised at your hesitancy to learn, to break through that, to say, okay, well, maybe I'll try, because I see so many examples of when you have stepped out and tried this, tried that, reached out to me cold, learned how to do this musically, done your first performance. I remember when you posted on Instagram the first time that you did a writer's thing where you were playing guitar for yourself. Is that something that you feel like is behind you now? Or are you like, hey, I've learned my lesson, I'm just going to plow ahead and let's make an EP all of a sudden? Or is that still a wrestling match?
I don't think my attitude is any different now. I think I've always, I like to find something that I want so bad that I get mad at it. And then I just go out and try and take a stab at getting it, whether it's a connection or a gig or an opportunity of some sort. I think with the comment, and you're talking about when I was scared of pursuing music, when my friend asked me about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The music industry as an outsider it feels otherworldly. It feels like it's, to be in entertainment in the media feels like there's a them versus us feeling.
Right.
I think for a lot of people, and I definitely thought that, to be a musician, you had to have some special permission. I've learned that to be a musician is to be doing music.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter at what level. I think a lot of people need to hear that. I can think of a few in my mind that are incredibly talented people that wouldn't call themselves musicians, even though they have exceptional gifts. But yeah, I also think that I love singing so much. I love performing so much that I've been afraid to pursue it, because what if taking it to the level of being a professional takes away some of the joy?
Right.
And so that's always been something that's held me back. So the gamble that I take is that I'm pursuing this in my 30s,
Right.
but I still think it's worth a shot.
It is. I've heard your stuff. I know what you're doing. Definitely worth a shot. We're going to pause for just a minute.
Yeah.
And I want to echo everything you were just saying about learning. And I want to give everybody just a glimpse for a second at a project here in town called Instruments for Education. A gentleman is putting together an opportunity to gather instruments, give them to kids, put them in schools. So if they don't have instruments to learn on, they can learn there. So we're going to show everybody that, and we're going to come back and talk about your project.
Fantastic.
Hey, Troy Castellano here from Instruments for Education. We're at one of our first stops here today on a Friday. We're delivering some tambourines and some shakers for an elementary school classroom. We're at Liberty Elementary School. Hey guys, I'm Troy Castellano. We started Instruments for Education as a way to put instruments into the hands of kids. Sometimes we donate directly to students, sometimes to teachers, and sometimes to full classrooms in their schools. We're based out of Nashville, Tennessee, and we service the Middle Tennessee area. Since we started, we've reached over 100 schools and donated over 500 instruments. If you'd like to make a request for an instrument, or you have an instrument to donate, or would like to contribute financially, visit our website at instrumentsforeducation.org. Thanks for supporting us, and thanks for helping keep music alive.
Okay, Caroline, your project is out. 1 song, 2 songs, 3 songs. You have an EP now.
Yes.
Starting with Wyoming, which has nothing to do with your dream of possibly living in New York City. So, so tell us tell us about that, getting your first song out. Talk about it. Tell us why that one, where it came from.
Wyoming is maybe my oldest song. I think it's second oldest. There's one that's, I don't know. It's literally the second song I ever started writing on that guitar that I bought 7 years ago when I moved to Nashville. I needed a song to go and play open mics with. I knew that I wanted to get out there and do it, but I didn't know how. And I was listening to a lot of Little Big Town at the time, and so I was thinking, like, what's kind of a spacey country melody that maybe Little Big Town would sing? Maybe that'll help, spark some inspiration here. And I had, a couple of years prior, I had a summer love, so long ago now, but I had a summer love that didn't work out. It was wonderful, out of a storybook, and I feel like it lives on a shelf in my heart, and that's where it belongs. But at the time, it was still a little bit of an open wound, and so I used that inspiration to write a song with the hook of "I'm not going to Wyoming." I had traveled with this guy I'd met, and we had some wonderful adventures. He was a tour guide in Jackson Hole over the summer, and was like, "Come out, we'll go hiking, blah blah blah, go camping, have a big summer adventure." And then he called and he said, "I don't know if you should come out. I'm kind of at this different place in my life." And I, played it cool, like, "Oh, I guess that's probably the right idea. I don't really want to go out there anyways." Yeah. Try to make it sound like it was my idea, but it was really his idea. But you don't have to know that for the sake of the song. But yeah. Anyway, so that's the real story. And then I took the song, and it was kind of my my putty for going out and playing writers rounds, and I just kept getting feedback on it, and people liked it.
Right.
And I got some feedback that I should maybe rewrite it. I went to an NSAI event, and it was interesting. It was Cara Diaguardi, if you're familiar with her. She did kind of a master class where she had everyone come up and sing one song, and then she would give feedback in front of everybody. And there was also some other writers in the audience.
And for people that don't know her, she was not only a songwriter, but she was one of the early judges for American Idol, right? Is that right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And she, and one of the other people in the audience was Ben Johnson, who's gone on to have a few number ones this last year. But I mean, this was years ago that I did this masterclass. But he and I connected on this song afterwards, and he's like, "Hey, I think there's something there, but I think you need to keep working on it." At the time, I didn't really understand what that meant to keep working on it. It was one of my very first songs, and I was like, "Why not? Everybody likes it. You like it. We're talking about it right now." In my mind. Right. But I took the advice, and I sat on it, and I iterated on it a few times, and I actually poetically finished it in Wyoming. There was something in the chorus I didn't really like, and so I finally made it out to Wyoming with a friend on a road trip in 2020. Right. And we were on a hike, and I was just like, wow, it'd be really nice to just meditate on this song right now. Maybe I can get a spark of inspiration. And I think the line was like something simple just to tie it together, like, "Go on, get to getting on, getting over me," I think was the line that kind of just fell out of the sky at that time. And it doesn't really sound like a big deal, but it just wasn't hitting as hard until I found that line. And once I did, everything felt kind of like I could relax a little bit. And I thought maybe the song could be done. It could be where it needed to be. So long-winded story, but Wyoming's, 7 years of memories and experiences playing that song out, getting feedback, working with it, molding it into a thing. There was no choice but to make this my first release. Right.
Yeah, I remember when you sent it to me first, because we were talking about doing something with it, and I loved it. Immediately, it was great. And then, I've heard Static. Everybody needs to get the whole thing for sure.
Thank you.
I thought it was interesting when you told me, because I know how much you work with other people. I know that you're regularly posting where you're playing with other people and you're writing things with other people, and then this project you wrote completely on your own.
Yeah.
Is that just because those are the songs you chose? Was it intentional to see what you could do on your own to build that muscle? I mean, what was the process there?
Yeah. I feel like I'm still learning. This is my first experience putting out a body of work and saying, look at me. This is my voice. This is who I am. And I wanted to a few things. One, I wanted to see if I could throw my own noodles at the wall without anyone's help. There's something, brazen in me that wants to just say like, hey, I hope you like my songs.
Right.
And I hope you like the things that I have to say. But there's also, not wanting this project to belong to anybody else. Because if I only get one chance to tell people who I am as an artist, I hope it's the stuff that I hope I know that I've left a path for myself that still circles back to what's actually in my heart. And I think it can be very easy, as I'm learning more and more about the game of country music in particular, to meet talented people, work with the best producers, get the connections that can get you in the door. And that's wonderful. But, through that process, I can't help but imagine it's natural that you start to sift out some of the essence of what made you love the game in the first place. And I never want to lose that. So I wanted to immortalize that in a project. So I just, there's some great songs that are co-writes that I feel very close to and very passionate about. I look forward to releasing them, but I wanted this to be cohesive. And it felt like the best way to do that was to just put my solo rights on this project.
Right. I get that. I haven't released a lot of things along those lines, but I do have those things that they're just my thoughts. They're just the things that I wrote because I wanted to know, can I get it out the door and actually, in my case, just perform it? Some of them I've recorded, but I never did anything with them. Maybe we will. We'll see. I'd rather listen to yours.
Well, hey, I'd love to hear yours. You've got a lot going on in there.
As a songwriter, there are those writers that say, if I haven't lived it, I can't write it. There are others, some of my favorites, Mac Davis, Billy Joel, that can certainly take on a character and write a story that they didn't walk through.
Yeah.
But they can kind of switch gears. People, can live very different lives at different points in their life. You can record different kinds of songs at different times. Where do you fall as a songwriter in that?
I like to write about experiences if they're on my heart, but I also like to explore with fiction. So I don't feel like you necessarily have to live it to write about it. Like Static is, even though I informed pieces of Static with my own story, I know being a songwriter and wanting to ride the radio all the way to the Static, that's me, but the story feels like it belongs to someone else. I wrote it about a girl who has things in common with me. And that was a really fun exploration that allowed me to think beyond what my own brain would do. And I tried to think about other writing influences. And if it had nothing to do with me, but this other writer was writing it, what would they say?
Okay, so with that, I want you to explain something to me because I didn't understand the entire backstory.
Okay.
I found online where you wrote a song, American songwriter something or other, where it looked like a gentleman had provided you lyrics or a story or something, and you had written the song for him that was his story or his lyrics.
Yeah.
It wasn't clear what the backstory was on that, but it was clear that whatever he had given you, whatever you had put together with that song, really impacted him. It made a big impression on him, which one you should be really proud of.
Thanks.
What you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's an event with the Make Music Alliance. They have something called Make Music Day, where they choose 50 songwriters from across the country, and they pair them up with one person in every state. and we met. I met Dan from Washington in the morning, and we spoke for 40 minutes on Zoom, and I tried to squeeze as much of his life story out of him as I possibly could. And then I had 8 hours to write a song with what I learned about him. And the song was called Unexpectedly Good,
right,
because as I was talking to him, it was so cute, because he kept saying, and then this part of my life happened, and it was just the craziest thing. Like this unexpected thing would happen to him that would make his life better.
Right.
And I was kind of like, I don't think this guy sees what he's telling me, but this is a consistent pattern with him. He is joining an online forum of his favorite band, and just happens to, stumble into an opportunity where he makes the best friends of his life. He had been unlucky in love, and then just happened to get back on dating apps at the right time to meet the right woman of his life. And so to see this kind of roller coaster that this guy had been on, it also seemed like he was very happy and full of love and life. So that's how that song came to pass, and probably why it was so emotional for him, because it was for him, about his beautiful life and his family. And
well, and that was the thing that was so tremendous about it, because I mean, you're more the songwriter than I am, but the idea that, we can write these songs, and there can be very popular songs that fly all over everywhere, and thousands and millions of streams and all the things. And they'll never elicit the kind of response that guy felt from that one song. Yeah. And that is also something that I would hope you're proud of, because he probably thinks of that every day.
Thanks.
And that's tremendous.
It's on my list of things to do. I know it's been a year since that happened, but I still want to get him like a quality demo of that.
Yeah.
I am not very good at making demos. So my recordings are crap. And I think about him all the time too, because it was really powerful to use the tool of songwriting for what its purpose is, which is to make real life feel more beautiful.
Right.
And I think it's really easy to get caught up in the day-to-day of songwriter ambition of what can make this song better, what could make this song more competitive or commercial or whatever. But that in that moment, that was the best song in the world. To have written, to have given to someone. It was a really special experience. Thanks for letting me talk about that.
Yeah, no,
it feels kind of buried in my past now, but
well, there are a lot of things buried in your past.
Oh, LOL. That's funny. I know where this is going.
Are we going there? We don't have to if you don't want to.
No, let's go there.
Okay. One of the things that is buried in your past, and this is one of those things where, when you can write a song from his perspective, and somebody can look at you and like, oh my gosh, I never would have thought of that, of Caroline in that perspective, or with that kind of story. It's like, well, it's not her story, or it's not her story now. Mm-hmm. It's a different person, a different perspective, a different life, a different time, all these things. And, well, I just want to show everybody a piece of your past, and then we'll talk about it here in just a minute.
Okay.
Hello, America. Think of your typical pageant girl. Now back to me. Now back to her. Now back to me. She isn't me, but if she was ready for the job of Miss America, she could act like me. Do you want a Miss America who is ready to jump out of the shower and to your aid when disaster strikes because she's trained by the American Red Cross in disaster preparedness? Of course you do. What's in my hand? It's a big pencil because the Miss America organization places a large emphasis on scholarship and offers over $45 million in scholarship annually to women nationwide. Look again. The pencil is now diamonds. So America, it's time to glamorize. For the most fabulous night on television, anything's possible when you tune in to watch me, Caroline McGowan, Miss Oregon 2011, live from Planet Hollywood Resort and Casino in Las Vegas, Nevada, on January 14th on ABC. I'm in a gown.
So, Caroline Kidd, I love that so much because it's not what anybody that knows you now would probably expect of you. At the same time, it's not what someone would expect of a beauty queen, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I know that you think, oh gosh, that was so far gone. But I mean, to me, that's such a big part of who you are now. Unpretentious, willing to throw it out there, willing to laugh at yourself, willing to expose yourself as a songwriter or show your humor. What were we just looking at?
Well, so in 2011,
Right.
I was crowned Miss Oregon and of the Miss America pageant organization. And that video was a promotion that there was a America's Choice vote for the Miss America pageant. And leading up to that, each contestant had to record a 1 minute vote for me kind of campaign video.
Right.
And that was mine. And we had 2 takes. That was it. And so I had to make this up and nail this routine. And I don't know what possessed me, because most of the other girls, you know, they did what I would maybe expect a Miss State to do. Like, hey, I'm Miss State, and the reason I want to be Miss America is because of my philanthropy, my vision, my mission. Completely reasonable and legitimate reasons.
Sure.
But I just didn't feel like that was my personality, and I wanted to get people's attention. So I thought, let's have a little fun with it. I'll try to tell people, you know, about the platform while also, and, you know, and who I am as Miss Oregon, while also bringing some humor into it,
Right.
because I love to laugh. So anyway, so far that's probably my greatest hit. It went a little viral on Reddit at the time, you know, and 12 years ago, getting like 100,000 streams on YouTube was pretty cool stuff.
Right.
Back then. And I was in
Right.
college, and I don't know, but that's a crazy long time ago in my mind and in my heart. So much has happened since then. So, you know, I don't expect to be talking about pageant history, you know, very much
Sure.
on this journey of my music career, but you know me and you know kind of about this chapter of my past. So I think it's funny that you showed that.
Well, I almost wonder if you got in trouble for it. I mean, were they on board? Because you see those things, and what you expect is this very refined, put together, you know, it's almost like, oh, you're going to sing for your talent. You're not going to sing Joan Jett. You're going to sing the theme from Les Mis or some classical piece. Was that, I mean, it seems like it was a real departure from what everybody else would have done.
It was different.
Yeah.
But there's, you know, in a test group of at least 50 women,
Yeah.
you're going to get some different personalities. I just happen to be one of them.
Hey, well, I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
So I don't know.
No, I think it's great. I think it's great.
Thanks.
One of the things that we're going to do with this podcast, and again, this is going to be the first. I've spent my career playing piano for other people, and you're going to let me play one of your songs,
I am.
which you were not prepared to hear piano only, right? Because it's just a piano vocal.
Yeah.
You're okay with that?
I'm okay with that. Yeah.
Well, we're gonna go to that. We're gonna show that, and then we're gonna come back and wrap this episode 1 up. Here's Wyoming.
I can feel you loosening your grip. You're 1,000 miles away on this phone, but it sounds like more in your tone. Doesn't seem like it's worth a trip. Summer love will do what summer love does, but I'll be damned if summer love is the only thing it was. So go on, get to getting on, getting over me, 'cause I'm not going to Wyoming. Thinking about you out in Wyoming, out there sleeping under the stars. Are you thinking about my city lights, or if I'm all alone tonight, as I fall asleep to the sound of cars? Whoa, a summer love will do what summer love does, but I'll be damned if summer love is the only thing it was. So go on, get to getting on, getting over me, 'cause I'm not going to Wyoming. Oh, don't leave the light on in the Tetons. I bet the moon will shine just as bright, and summer love will do what summer love does, but someone who will have to keep you warm at night. Oh, this is the end of the road for you and me, yeah. 'Cause I'm not going to Wyoming. How's the weather out in Wyoming? I'm calling 'cause I wanted to check in.
That's it.
I love that song. I'm so glad you threw that at me.
Thank you so much for playing and singing along with me. That added a really cool element to it, a kind of just an authenticity and a softness. It was like you were the person 1,000 miles away in my thoughts.
Well, that's how people like me, is 1,000 miles away.
Oh my gosh. That's not true.
No, it's just, it's so funny because I've told a few people that I was kind of doing this and we were going to do those piano arrangements, and it's like they're surprised, like, really? You're going to do piano arrangements? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to play piano for people. That's what I've done for 50 years. So so I just love the way it came out. I appreciate your letting me do that. I appreciate your making time to do this. We certainly want everybody to check out the EP, all the songs, download them, stream them, share them, push them out there. Anything you want to leave us with before we kind of put a bow on this thing?
I want to turn it on you. This is you starting a new creative endeavor.
Right.
You know, you're starting a podcast and you're inviting people into your world. What are you hoping to get out of this? I want to ask the questions now, Jeff.
I don't know really what I'm trying to get out of it. I had the opportunity to do some interviews and things over the last 2 years when performing opportunities were limited. Mm-hmm. And I see a lot of people that do that, but they don't necessarily have a musical lens to look through at people like yourself that have new projects and things. And I just want to participate. I just want to help. That's what I've always done. Whether I was in a fraternity building floats, substitute teaching, playing piano for artists on the road, doing radio tours, writing a press release, just helping shine a light on people. I enjoy doing that, and it's cool for me too, because I get to participate in your music. I get to know what you're doing and put my flavor on some of those things. So as opposed to me being critical of what I wish other people were doing and offering my opinions about what I think might have been more helpful, I'm just going to try out some of my ideas, and you can let me know if they're helpful or not, I guess.
Well, I think it's really helpful. I think there's no substitution for experience. And that's something that I'm grateful for, that you can kind of share with me. And I think it's really awesome that you're doing this podcast, so people can get to know kind of who you are in a platform that lends itself to the way that you really feel about this journey. I don't know that Instagram or Facebook or something would be the right avenue for it. So I think it's interesting. It's anyone can sit here and ask me questions, but few people can sit here and ask me questions having kind of gone on that journey before, and seen the road and seen the industry and seen all the players involved. And so, it just feels really nice to be seen and heard. So thanks for having me out. I really appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you reaching out to me for coffee the first time. I look forward to hearing you again. You're in Nashville, so I get to hear you live. So
that's right. Come on out to my shows.
I will be. I have been at them, and I will be at them again.
I know you will.
So thanks so much. Tell everybody how to find you.
Okay. On Instagram, probably my most preferred method of social media. You can find me at Caroline on the go, Caroline on the go, and on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, wherever you stream your favorite songs. I hope you'll add my new EP, the Caroline Kid EP, to your list of favorites. And please get in touch and let me know what you think. If something agrees with you, I'd love to hear about it.
And if it doesn't, just keep it to yourself.
That's right.
Caroline, thanks so much.
Hey, thank you.
And so goes our first official interview for the McMahon on Keys podcast. Thank you guys for checking us out. If you would, go ahead and subscribe, and you'll get notified when we drop our next episode, which will be next week. If you've got thoughts on what you heard or what you might like to hear, let us know. You can email us at jeff@mcmahononkeys.com. A couple of thank yous. Randy Allen from Vibe Entertainment, killer videographer, shot the video for Wyoming. Thank you for your help. Tommy Leland, killer guitar player, record producer here in Nashville, captured all the audio and mixed it for us for both the interview and the song. So thanks for that. And Turk McNamara, who owns Turk's Lounge, Nashville How It Used to Be. He's preserving the heritage of the songwriter here in Nashville, and we appreciate the space and for supporting the podcast. Last but not least, Caroline Kidd, a great talent, and for being brave enough to be the first one out of the chute for this little podcast adventure. Follow her music. I know she's got new stuff coming, so keep an eye and an ear out for her. And we will see you next time with McMahon on Keys.